Hello, warriors. Welcome to the U movement. I am B. And the energy as of late has felt like a meteor shower of life lessons coming in and hitting hard. Along this journey, we have been forced to sit in any number of uncomfortable and unpleasant emotions that are surfacing to purge. And this last week has been a lot. It's like every single scoop of flavor in the ice cream store has been served to you in one big bowl, and most of them you don't like. But there have been one or two in there that you're like, oh, I wish I had had more of that. So yes, it's a sampler plate of a whole bunch of energies. A while back in many videos, I have shown the picture of the spiral, the emotional frequency spiral that we need to ascend up. This is the path of ascension, is ascending up through all these emotions, not bypassing them, not going around them, not taking an elevator, but going through these emotions, starting at the bottom ones of despondency and depression and despair, and moving our way up through the wet emotions, and moving our way up through the fiery emotions of like anger and rage, and moving up into neutrality, and moving up into creative joy and bliss. Now we got some ways to go. I figure when I started this awakening path, I was at a vibrational frequency of about 5 at the most on a good day. Some days we're like 0.5. If 0 is like dead, 0.5 was kind of what my existence was like, to up to 5, kind of just waiting, a slow wait until it was all over. And so when I had the wake-up call, and Spirit very wonderfully showed me this picture of the spiral of the energies moving up, I was like, oh geez, I got a long way to ascend. I got a long way to go. I got a long walk through hell. So I got to start walking and start getting my body in alignment so that my body can be healthy enough and strong enough to process through all these emotions. And with each level that we process through comes a lot of life lessons that we need to learn, like so many. And so this week there have been a lot of life lessons, which doesn't really surprise me because we're coming to the close of the snake year, 6 days to go, and then we begin the horse year. Is the horse year going to start in a gallop? I think not. I think not. Maybe let's aim towards a walk, and maybe we'll get a little bit going as the year continues on. But at the present moment in time, we are still learning many lessons, and I came up with 5 themes that have been present in the last week for me. Those themes that I'm going to talk about today have been boundaries and self-value, the law of non-interference, helpful masculine energy showing up. That was the nice flavor. Grounding fear through presence and the body, tantric work, and surrendering to the process. So those are the 5 themes that I have been noticing, and even though there's many subtle deviations, they all kind of are umbrellaed under those 5 themes. So I'm going to go through those 5 themes today and see perhaps maybe you resonate. The first theme that I'm going to talk about is boundaries and self-value, okay? Because we've really been learning the lesson of boundaries for 6 solid years. And boundaries have a lot of use in different places, in different times, and different ways. And along this journey, many empaths have come to the level of awareness that, holy crap, I got no boundaries. because we were raised in an environment, a lot of it's of toxic situations, the empath narcissist paradigm. Okay, so I have done a lot of videos on narcissism. Please check out Trauma Bonds playlist if you want more information on that. But there is a paradigm between these two energies. Okay, at one extreme is the empath and the other extreme is narcissist. Neither of these people have healthy boundaries, but they present differently. Okay, so an empath has zero boundaries in their toxic state. Okay, just because you resonate with the term empath doesn't mean you're all good and you got no shadow. Because an empath has learned to be enmeshed and codependent and reliant on other people to regulate our nervous systems for us. Okay, so we learned that people pleasing, we used our empathy, our magic power of empathy, of being able to read a room, of being able to pick up on somebody's energy, of being able to intuit that something's off because somebody breathes funny or, makes a facial expression or, we've become, master criminologists in reading people's micro expressions, because it's been for our survival, okay? But that means that we never learned a boundary. There was no boundaries there to save our lives. We were constantly in a state of going into other people's energy, as well as letting people into our own energy. We'd be clearing stuff for other people, like a filter, a human filtration system. So along our awakening path, we've had to learn lots of boundaries. Oh my God, so many boundaries. And so many of those boundaries are, what's mine and what's theirs. And of what's mine, what do I deserve? What do I have? What do I value? What is important to me? So we have learned that, I don't deserve crappy relationships, so I'm out. I don't deserve this job, so I'm gone. I don't deserve this. And so we have learned to implement more and more boundaries, usually through the lessons or the experiences that are unpleasant, and saying, no, I'm sorry, this isn't working for me. I gotta go. This gaslighting isn't my thing. I am not tolerating a lopsided friendship. This abandonment, you come in, you go away, whatever it is, lots of little triggering situations have come in to teach us I'm worth more. I'm worth more than that. I deserve better than that. And so this has been boosting up our self-value more and more. So I want to talk to you about this in reference specifically of what's happening in my sphere, because, well, I don't have a lot of people around anymore because I've learned so many boundary lessons that it's been, okay, I need a timeout. I need to sit in my own energy for a while and figure things out. However, I have stepped into mission, okay, in part, not in full, but in part. I stepped into mission in 2021 when I started my YouTube, not even knowing where it was taking me or what was going, but I was impassioned. Okay, we don't do things when it's a mission. It's not about how much money can I make and how popular can I get and this and that. You do it regardless. Okay, I've shown up and done over 800 videos because I'm impassioned to. It's like I have to. It's no different to me than waking up and brushing my teeth. It's just what I'm called to do. You're called to do something. So along this awakening path, my ego for a very long period of time was like, oh, I need to make money. Oh, I need to do this. I need to boost my algorithms. I need to try thumbnails. I need to try this. And eventually I was like, listen, the right people are going to find me at the right time. I'm going to let God take over all of that. I value what I'm bringing to the table, and those that watch me do or don't. And I kind of let it go. You have to kind of let go a lot of the definitions of value by a monetary structure or an algorithm structure, like how many likes am I getting or how many followers am I getting. You have to let that go, and you have to just do your mission anyways, okay? That's not to say that you don't value what you bring to the table. You absolutely do value what you bring to the table. And through the process, you learn to value yourself even more. So I recently had an experience, and I did a small little post in Spiritual Warrior Support Group because my mission has asked of me to do things differently. And that worked for me because I'm different, and I think different, and I want the world to be different. And in many ways, I consider myself early to the new age, right? Because my philosophies, my ideologies of how we should connect with others, it doesn't really line up with the age of Pisces at all. So I have been walking this fine line, this tightrope between the old system and a new system that hasn't even been created yet, and finding my own sense of value within that. So my passion has said, make a YouTube channel. My passion has said, offer your services by donation. I offer my services at 3 price points depending on how much people make. So if you're a low income earner, I have 1 price point. If you're a mid-range income earner, I have another price point. And if you're comfortable, I have a 3rd price point. And I let you decide which price point is going to be the price point that works for you. I'm still getting paid. There's still an exchange of energy that's happening, but it's one that I can be able to show up for people that may or may not have the resources necessary. I have also been inspired through my awakening to create community. Now, on Facebook, I don't make money on Facebook by having a Facebook group, but the Spiritual Warrior Support Group is there as a community for people to meet other people and soul tribe to come together and support each other. I have also been inspired to offer free Spiritual Warrior Support Group Zoom meetings on Wednesdays and Fridays. Okay. I do appreciate all donations that I get here and on the channel. And throughout this, I've been back on this fine line, this tightrope that I've been walking, saying, I know what I have to bring to the world is of value. And even though I am offering it in a manner that allows people to provide a return energetically, money on a level that is below the system, I'm going to have faith. I'm going to try to have faith and balance it with faith that, being in the service of God, I am going to be provided with what I need when I need it. And I'm going to be very upfront and transparent with you. I lost my paying job in 2019, and I rode the social welfare system for as long as I could through the time of COVID. And then I was implementing and starting the YouTube. I wasn't making any money. I didn't make any money off of YouTube until last year. And of that, I could average out that I make probably about 2 cents per hour worked that I've put in between making videos, editing videos, and all the work is associated. I'm making probably 2 cents an hour is what I make right now. And I do not make a living wage. With everything else combined, all the donations that I receive and everything else, I don't make a living wage. Far from it. So I was like, God, show me the way. Please show me the way. This is my calling. This is my mission. This is what I'm inspired to do. I believe in the new earth. I believe in this, but I am early and you're asking me to show a way on a system that doesn't even exist yet. So please show me the way. So God provided, and I've said this story, meet with credit. Okay. I rode my credit. I was $36,000 in debt before I sold my house this last August. I've paid off my debt, and now I'm living off of my savings that I made from selling my house. So I am telling you this because twofold. I want you to understand that I value what I do so much that I am giving as much as I possibly can of myself away. That being said, I need to have some boundaries. And people have assumed that because I give so much away, that I am available 24/7, and I'm not. And I have tried to explain, if you would like to meet with me one-on-one, this is the way to do it. You book an appointment with me and you donate money to help support me on my own mission. And if you can't afford it, then you come to the Spiritual Warrior Support Group, where it's free. And you can have me and the other spiritual warriors that are in the group co-counsel. It's a co-counseling. I am paying for the service, but the council is a collaborative council within the community of the Spiritual Warrior Support Group. Or you can post anonymously in the Spiritual Warrior Support Group on Facebook and have up to over 1,400 people respond that happen to see your post. That does not mean I am available through messaging to just constantly ask me questions and constantly dump your trauma on me when I myself am still going through an awakening, when I myself deserve a day off, and when I myself have said, please don't do that. Please stop doing that. So I recently am getting a little irritated, and it's good to have energy. It's good to have irritation, because irritation says enough. I've had enough. I am very giving to the extent that I can give. That doesn't mean I can give every single waking of my moment of my life to people who are having issues all over the world. I cannot. I am one human being trying to survive my own awakening process and trying to give and support people to my best ability. But there needs to be a boundary, and I need to draw a line, which means if you want one-on-one, my advice, my intuitive skills, my connection to spirit, then please book an appointment with me. I am no longer tolerating constant trauma dumping through messaging or through email and expecting me to respond to you paragraph by paragraph. It's not going to happen. Okay. I will respond like this. All of those are very interesting issues. If you would like to address them in our next meeting, feel free to book. That's how that's going to go. I am no longer going to be giving free counsel more than I already give. And when I tried to draw a boundary, I received back hostility because, and a very passive aggressive, well, I wish that you never tried to help me in the first place. And I was kind of like, well, I wish I never tried to help you either, because you're not respecting my boundaries. And since you can't respect my verbal boundary, which says, please book an appointment with me and please stop dropping all these trauma dumps on me while I'm trying to have my day off and do my meditation and do my prayer, the boundary got really big and the boundary got blocked. So if you can't respect the boundary, then the boundary gets bigger. And we need to learn bigger boundaries when people don't respect the boundaries that you've suggested kindly and nicely. So our first lesson and theme is, are people respecting your boundaries? When you say, please stop doing something, are people listening? If they're not listening, then the boundary gets bigger and you make it impossible for them to keep interjecting into your life. And God invented block, thank you, for a reason. And I am going to use it. I think that's more than reasonable. And if you have a problem with it, go to somebody else. Not my problem anymore. This ties into the next lesson, which is the law of non-interference. Over time, I have voluntarily offered advice in different forums and in different places and checked in with people to see how they're doing, because as an empath who lacked boundaries, I could observe that they were struggling and they were going through difficult times. Now, a very important lesson is the lesson of non-interference. And yes, while in groups, or different forums, people might be asking a question. Help. I need help. This is what's happening in my life. Anybody have any opinions? That is a question that has been asked. Okay. So the first law of the angelic realm, which I always refer to and say, I would like to live my life and adhere by the same rules, is, did they ask for help? And in this previous situation with this woman, she had not actually asked for help in the first place. I had picked up that something was wrong and checked in with her. But there was actually so it was a reminder of the lesson. Was help actually asked for? Because when we offer unsolicited advice to people who have not actually asked for help, it comes into like flicking right back around and getting it into our face. What is the expression? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And it is a road I've already walked, and I don't want to walk any further on that road. I would like to deviate off that road and remind myself that when we interfere with other people's karmic lessons, it's like a tail that swings back around and you just get it hard. You just get it hard. And karma's not messing around anymore. And I've had enough karma that I've had to clear in my life, this life. The amount of lineages, which is 4, okay, because I was adopted. That's my birth mother, birth father, adoptive mother, adoptive fathers, lineages that I've been clearing. So it's a hell of a lot to break these cycles. And I'm not picking up anybody else's karma anymore. I'm not cleaning up anybody else's mess. And when you jump in, lesson learned again, when you jump in and try to, lead a horse to water, you cannot make them drink. You cannot. And they may not even want to be near the river. So you've dragged and you've pulled and you've said, but if only, and listen, our autistic minds or neurodivergent minds are amazing at seeing patterns and seeing outcomes, right? So it's like, well, I know if you just did XYZ, then your path that you're going to walk is a lot better. But they're not standing from the same vantage point that you are. And so for us watching, it's like, no, I can see the train wreck coming. Oh, I can see the crash. It's about to happen. Like, I knew my marriage was derailing years before. And I had to learn the lesson, which is the first lesson I mentioned, of self-value and boundaries, so that I could escape from what was ultimately a total crash. It was like a train wreck extraordinaire. But by the time I was on my karmic lesson, the train was going so fast, it was some movie like the movie Speed, and I couldn't jump off. Okay, it was very difficult to jump off. So that was my karmic lesson. Nobody would have been able to sweep in and like hightail me off the train. So oftentimes we see people going down a path that we know is going to be a train wreck. We can see it. We can see it coming, and we go, oh, I just want to help them. But if they just did this, and if they just did that, and we offer unsolicited advice, be forewarned that the law of non-interference will teach you over and over and over again, like hitting you on the hand, to stop grabbing into something that's none of your business. Other people need to learn hard lessons, the same lessons that you needed to learn. And maybe those lessons are escaping from narcissistic situations. That's their lesson to learn. That's their strength training. You can't lift the dumbbells for somebody else and expect them to get muscle. Doesn't work that way. You can't, maybe their lesson is the lesson in hitting rock bottom because of addiction. You can't keep pulling their addiction and enabling them this way and that way and expect them to learn the lesson of, I don't want to do this anymore. They have to hit their rock bottom. And we go back to the first thing of boundaries help us go and regulate our own nervous system all by ourselves when they're learning their karmic lessons, so that we don't get disrupted by watching and witnessing the train wreck. Okay, so these all tie together. And think of it this way: when it comes to karmic bills that need to be paid, and it can be anything, as I said, it could be life lessons. You can't make somebody stop eating sugar if they're not ready to. You can't make somebody quit dope if they're not ready to. You can't make somebody, get out of a bad marriage, leave a job, move, manage their money better. You cannot make anybody do anything at all, unless they make that decision for themselves. And if you try, what you are doing is actually robbing them. You are a thief. So I did some thievery this last week in trying to help somebody with their karma that was unasked. I volunteered, and what I did was open the door to a constant flow of trauma dumping. And then I was like, whoa, this is all your karma that you're spilling into my pristine space. Close the door, lock the door, black off. I'm not going to allow somebody to dump their karma on me, and I am not going to interfere again. I am not going to interfere again. If somebody wants my advice, that the pathway to get it is through booking an appointment with me. That is the signal. That's the signal to me that my voice, my opinion is wanted. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to assume my opinion is not wanted, and I'm going to keep it to myself or post it within my communities. I'm not going to go onto somebody else's wall and tell them what to do. I'm not going to this, that, and the other. I'm just going to live my little life over here in my world that I've created, my communities that I've created, and I'll speak my truth there, and I'll speak my truth, on my wall, and I'll speak but if you want a one-on-one direct help with something, I'm not going to swoop in with the cape of I can save you. I can't. Okay? I cannot. My tagline is save yourself. Okay? The youth movement. Save yourself. The time of the guru, the time of the spiritual leader is collapsing. Just look around at some of the spiritual leaders that are collapsing. It's collapsing. Okay? I don't want to be your guru. I don't want to be your leader. I want to be your co-creator of a new world. Okay? So we can co-create through the exchange of energy with no interference. I'm going to respect boundaries of no interference and tell other people how to live their lives or help them with their problems, because that is robbing them of the opportunity to learn their own life lessons, pay their own karmic debts. So that includes, I'm not just going to be handing people money no more. I've done that a couple times too. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Can't do that. People need to learn the consequences of their own actions. And I need to learn the consequence of overstepping that boundary, that healthy boundary, and pull myself back in and say, all right, wait a second here. I value myself, my time, my energy enough not to just be going into other people's areas. Okay, I'm going to stick to my own, and you can stick to your own. And when there is an exchange, that's great, but boundaries are so vitally important for our own nervous system's regulation. And my nervous system has been dysregulated so badly because of this narcissist empath paradigm that's been at play in my life, all of my life. And now I am living in a whole new way without all the paddings that used to prop me up, like, oh God, they had a bad day at work, I'm going to go have a cigarette. No. If somebody has a bad day at work, I'm going to get my health self away so that I can regulate myself and not need any padding, any numbing, any distraction to regulate my nervous system. If somebody around me their own nervous system is dysregulated and like, whoa, triggered and this, that, and the other, that's their issue. It's not mine. It is not mine to solve or to fix, okay? We need to remind ourselves there's a time and a place for fixing, and then there's a time and a place for minding your own bloody business. And so ask this question. Was I asked for an opinion? Was I asked for help? Am I overstepping? Am I overstepping in this situation? Am I overdumping? Am I overextending? What am I doing? And let's reel our energy back in and practice some solitary. I gotta be on my own energy again for a little bit, and I gotta do some prayer. I gotta do some meditation. I gotta do some yin yoga. I gotta ground myself. I gotta bring myself back into myself, because enmeshment is not the way forward. That is the way of the past. That is unhealthy. That is toxic. And we don't do toxic anymore. We're doing healthy now. So that brings me to my next point, because what's amazing, as I said, it's a bowl of all these different flavors, and some of them have been nice. In the last week, I have had the blessing of knowing what it is to be helped when you are asking for help from healthy masculine energy. And it has been like this for me. Like, what is happening? What is going on? So as you know, I have had plumbing problems since the day that I moved in. It froze, then there was air in the system, then it was fixed, then it froze, then there was air in the system, and then it was fixed. So almost every single day, I had somebody here helping me one way or another. And it was a very interesting, balanced, healthy exchange. Then, not yesterday, Monday, I had my first accident in my car. Don't worry, it was okay-ish. I live in Canada. I now live in the woods and the country. And I was driving on a country road that's very up and down and slipping, sliding, and all over the place. And apparently they had just redone the road not so long ago. I didn't know that. And there's a corner that all locals know to avoid, because apparently 20 other cars have landed in the ditch. And I landed in the ditch. And I was freaking out because, it was a big ditch. It was a very big ditch, and I didn't know what to do. And I was on my own, and I live on my own. So I called my landlady and her partner, who had been helping me with all the plumbing problems. I was like, is there any way that your men can help me, because I'm in a ditch? And she's like, oh my God, yes, absolutely. And within 5 minutes, they were there with a big honking pickup truck and, towing stuff. Thank God I put a hitch on the back of my vehicle. And they pulled me out. They got me out of the ditch. And they showed up. They fixed the problem. They created a solution. They saved me. And this goes beyond, on an energetic level, to have masculine energy come up and show up and not treat me in any other way than respectfully was new. So there's this new timeline that has started that's overlapping with this old timeline. And I've done a lot of videos on toxic masculinity, and I'm going to call out healthy masculinity when I see it, because I have never been in the energy of oh man, I don't need no man. That's not where I wanted to go. Where I want to go is a coming together, a camaraderie of watching divine feminines who have done their healing work and done their shadow work and healed their inner child come together with divine masculines that have also done their healing work and faced their shadow and know how to treat women in a respectful manner. Because the fact of the matter is, and this might be like ancient school. I don't know about old school, because old school not so good if we look at our history, but ancient school of understanding that feminines have certain powers and certain skills and certain knowledge that they are born creators. They can create beautiful things, but they need the structure of the masculine for them to do that. And that needs to be a structure of a healthy, if a masculine builds a structure, builds a container, energetically speaking, that is safe for the feminine to be able to sit and create. And that's when you have co-creation, because she's not in a state of constant stress and chaos, running around picking up the messes that he leaves, or in conflict because she doesn't trust where he's at and where he is and who's he texting, and I better get onto my phone, and I need to worry about this and I need to worry about that. That all of her resources are being siphoned out and spilt on the floor and not creating the new world. So I know from what I've seen that there needs to be a union of masculine and feminine energies coming together within, but also within the collective on the 3D level for us to create the new, right? We're watching the old collapse and explode. And we need to build the new. And that means men stepping into their divinity, as well as women stepping into their divinity, or, it doesn't matter, male, female. When I talk about masculine energy, because if you're both females in a loving relationship, one will have a more masculine energy and the other one will have a more feminine energy. Same said so it's got nothing to do with like sexual preference or gender or this, that, or the other. It's got to do with divine partnership of carrying the charge, one carrying the charge of the feminine magnetism and one carrying the charge of the masculine electricity. Okay, so these, when they come together, you have an electromagnetic cell that is a creation source that can build the new, that can collapse the old and build the new, and dig you out of a ditch if you need to, and come in and assist in building the new. And so to feel this energy, to come face to face in my physical presence with this energy, where the communication was respectful, it was like honorable, it was action oriented, it solved my problems, and I have a lot of problems, okay? And I don't mean that, although some people have said to me, I have a lot of mental problems. Well, maybe I wouldn't have so many mental problems if I didn't have so many other problems in this damn world. So, I have, one of my problems as of late has been, I had bought myself years ago this fantastic camcorder. I can't use the thing. Every time I use the thing, the color's off and this, that, and the other. Like, it needs somebody with technical know-how. It needs somebody that can build a container, a studio space container, literally building me a container, knowing how to use my lighting, which I finally, I think, figured out through ChatGPT, knowing how to use this camera. I need a container built for me so that I can, and I gave up. Yesterday, I was like, that's it. I give up. I'm putting it, and I actually posted it for sale, and I'm using my phone. And if somebody knows, that would be great. I need a container, and I have somebody that's finally stepped up and is showing up in a way that's helping me build a new website, which is blowing my mind, and my brain can't even handle it. This is the point. The point is, we have creators and we have builders, and we need both. We need both in unison. We need both in unity. And I pray I pray that spirit is going to continue. Like, this is just like crumbs of what is in my future, of seeing more masculine energy step up and help me build, that can see my vision and help me build. Because the gifts that I have been granted years ago and seeing what could be, right? I need people. I need people to do that. I cannot do it on my own. I am not a technical person. That is not my set. I am a creative person. Like, you put a group of actors together with me and, like, man, I can create a play in about, I don't know, an hour. Okay? I am a creative visionary. That's who I am. Visionaries, which is feminine energy, visionaries need co-creators that are builders. So if I am getting little samplings now of this is what healthy masculine energy looks and feels like, and it feels like chocolate ice cream. I gotta say, you know, when those men pulled my car out of the ditch, a wave of like gratitude, appreciation, awe, just filled every pore of me. And it took me all day yesterday to integrate this new reality, you know? And what was very interesting, I'm going to just add, is 10 minutes after my accident and after I got home, I had already had on schedule another appointment with Craig Holiday. And so I am going to recommend again, I've been recently practicing my throat chakra, you know, negative reviews. This is my throat chakra positive reviews. If you are looking for a masculine energy, and that's why I joined his group in the first place, if you are looking for a healthy masculine energy, somebody can hold a container for you, whether you be masculine or feminine, doesn't matter, that has the capacity to hold a container so that you are safe to be able to express your truth in an environment that feels warm. It feels like there's space for the feminine. He knows how to hold space for the feminine. Then I highly recommend him. I recommend his Wednesday Kundalini groups. He also has other meditation group on Wednesday. I don't go to that, but I go to his Kundalini group on Wednesday, which is today, which I better register for soon. And he also has a Sunday evening a group as well. So, and you can book private sessions with him. And as a resource, I'm giving him like 2 thumbs up as helpful masculine energy showing up, what that feels like, which is very, very different than men mansplaining everything to me. Okay? I'm so over that. Like, it's not even funny. That is not holding a container. That is dominating space. A healthy masculine listens. What is the problem? I need to know all the information of the problem. And then once he's done listening, he makes action. He doesn't sit there and lecture. He doesn't sit there and like mansplain or pull out, well, I read a book and I know this and this, blah, 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 and this is what you should do. He solves the problem. He does the action steps required. So he listens to the problem and he solves the problem. You know, when those guys showed up, neither one of them were like, oh, well, here's a manual on how to drive your car better, and you really should have done this. And there was zero lecturing. There was, oh my God, it's all right. What do you need me to do? Would you like me to go in the driver's seat for you? Okay, there was questions. There was inquisitive questions of what can I do to make this situation better for you? They listened to my answers. Yes, please get in my car. And now my seatbelt's doing something wonky. Can you fix that too? Yeah, sure. That was it. So, oh, the angels are singing. The angels are singing as I see and feel the energy of masculine coming in that knows how to stop lecturing, stop mansplaining, start listening, and start making action steps. I applaud it. I love it. I want to see more of it all over the world. I'll do cartwheels, only I can't, but I'll practice until I can, because this is so vitally important. I once heard somebody say, God made everything in pairs. And I tend to agree with that assessment. And that is the ultimate of divine union. And I've been put on this wackadoodle path. And I can honestly say, with my heart wide open, that's what I want. That's absolutely what I want. I want a container built by a man so I can create, and collectively, each of us in our own empowered strength and self-value can co-create a world that is completely different from the one that we currently live in, one that is safe for people. To me, partnership isn't about swimming naked in cenotes, but I wouldn't say no. It is about being in divine mission and service to God, and utilizing the skills and the power of both in combination to solve everything that's wrong with the world. And that's a very long list. The next theme that I wanted to talk about was grounding fear through presence. So as we are stepping into our divinity more and more, and stepping into our mission, and that may be speaking up, speaking out, leaving negative reviews, leaving a pretty scathing Google review, or standing up and laying some boundaries, whatever it is, that all these little tests, as we stand more and more into divine mission, which is challenging because it's outside of our comfort zone. Our ego self played it small, teeny tiny small. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't have social media, barely. I was barely on Facebook. I didn't even have any other social medias. I spent day in, day out in my little house and just alone and wanting to die, right? And so Spirit came along and hit me on the head and said, wake up and save yourself. Mission number 1, save yourself. And in so doing, that's pushed me outside my comfort zone further and further and further and further and further and further and further. And now I've got like over 1,000 followers on here and on Facebook in my group. And I'm like, what the heck is happening? Like, this is so surreal to my old reality. And I've had to do things that I didn't want to do. And I had to give up things that I didn't want to give up. And I had to keep doing what Spirit told me, which each time pushes us further and further outside of our comfort zone. Like, now my comfort zone is so far long gone, I couldn't find my way back if I tried. Like, there is zero path back to my comfort zone. And so all you have is the choice to keep walking. And as you've walked through hell, because this awakening journey itself has been so traumatic, like the things that you have to go through and traverse through to strengthen. So I had done a video on this, but the coloring was so bad I can't even possibly put it up. When we go through our awakening ourselves is traumatic. Yes, part of it is dealing with our traumas from our childhood and past lives and everything else that happened, but the awakening itself, chronic illness, disease, you can go through a healing crisis. You can have chronic pain that is a constant problem. You can go through divorces, separations. You can go through legal battles. You can go through money loss. You can go through job loss. You can go through, and I've gone through all of this. You can go through accidents, like getting hit by a bobcat. You can go through multiple moves. You can go through losing all your stuff. You can go through losing all your friends. You can go through losing your family. You can go through, there's all these insane challenges that we are forced to experience, because each one pokes and prods us to squeeze out all the emotions that we once repressed and held in. So these insane scenarios happen over and over and over again, like driving into a ditch or whatever, having all your appliances break down in 1 year. Like, that was nuts. So you can go through all these experiences, and each one is triggering a core wound. Now, for me, I look at it like my previous self, when I lived in my comfort zone, my ego was the size of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. That doesn't mean I walked around thinking I was all egoic and thinking I was a bag of chips. No, it meant I had all these masks and coping mechanisms that I used, and trying to control the universe in every which way that I could to maintain my nervous system that was like a whippet with Tourette's, because ultimately underneath was a terrified human being, like an absolutely terrified human being. And now I have a gentleman here plowing my front for me. See? Masculine energy. It's great. Anyways, that's a side note. So for me to break down this giant-sized ego of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, it required the most insane experiences, one after another, after another, after another, to break down all my safety nets, all my tools of holding myself together, so that I could completely collapse and surrender into the spirit. And so that left, at the core of it, once all of that is ripped away, all of the addictions, the smoking, the drinking, the eating, the toxic relationships, the trauma bonds, once those were all ripped away, I was left naked like a whippet with Tourette's. Fuck. Like, my nervous system is like fried, absolutely fried. It was always fried. I just hid it better, especially under like all the weight. I hid it under a lot of weight, right? So when all that gets ripped away, you're like, so we need to practice grounding through presence, grounding through mindfulness, grounding through the body and what's happening in the here and now. So as I've stepped outside of my comfort zone, and as I traverse this landscape that I equate to being on like a journey in Lord of the Rings, just waiting for dragons to go overhead and orcs to come and kill me, I've been scared. I've been very scared. There have been moments on my awakening journey that I've been there are certain wounds that many of us carry. The witch wound, for being who you are and then getting burned at the stake. That's in the consciousness somewhere. The persecution wound is one that really like upsets me, and a feeling like, somebody's going to come and get me. Oh my God, they're looking at me weird. What's happening? But I got to keep that in check. You got to keep that in check and keep reminding yourself, but what is reality? Is there anybody in my space right now? No, I'm safe. I'm good. What is in my reality outside of my house? Well, right now there's a really nice gentleman plowing the front for me, which is fabulous. So what is real? What is real? Keep bringing yourself into here, not into like the astral planes and playing in other areas of darkness and shadow, and like, Get out of there and come back here. Come back here to what you see with these eyes. Come back here into these eyes, into presence, because it does nothing for your nervous system if you are constantly in an energy of seeking out information that feeds the fear. Ask yourself, is what I'm reading, is what I'm listening to feeding my fear, or is it making me more afraid? I'm afraid. And listen, everything out there can make you afraid. From news to movies to social media to conspiracy theories to this, and whether it's true or not is really irrelevant. Is it true in your living room? Is the question. Okay. Is Trump in your house? No? Then don't worry about what he's doing, because he's not there. What you need to worry about is your nervous system. That's it. You need to worry about your anxiety, your emotions, your stuff. And so we ground ourselves into presence, into the present moment. What is happening here and now? Here and now. Not what's happening out there, it's happening in social media. What is happening here and now? And because of that, I have been finding it increasingly more difficult to spend really any time on social media. I go on, I make a post, and I go away. I run away again because I can't listen to all the stories. I can't listen to all the pain. I can't listen. It upsets me too much as somebody who is very open, very sensitive, as an empath, as a light worker. And so my job, and we go back to boundaries, my job is to save myself, to heal myself, to empower myself, to have my own sense of self-value. I cannot heal the world until I have gotten my own health regulated. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. I'm going to say that again. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. What is your health? Your physical health. That is your body. That is your nervous system. That is your immune system. That is your digestive system. That is your lymphatic system. That is your circulatory system. Those are all your systems. If those aren't all 100% up and running, none of us have any place going out and trying to save the world. Think of it like Iron Man when he built himself his first Iron Man outfit, right? Until he worked all the bugs out, until he got a system that was up and running, he was actually a danger to himself and a danger to other people and shouldn't have been out flying around until he got all the kinks worked out. Okay? So let's get our own Iron Man system all worked out, right? Heal ourselves, heal our bodies. Doesn't matter what the spiritual galactic force is doing, or it doesn't matter what the political systems are doing, unless you work there, unless you're there in your physical reality, unless you're in the White House and that's your job, then it doesn't matter what's happening in the White House. Okay? Because there's nothing you can do about it until we heal our bodies. You won't be able to manifest the resources that you need until you heal your body. You won't be able to co-create the new age until you heal your body. So all of our focus needs to be on presence and what is in my physical reality here and now. And I am doing that through extensive yoga practice, which I have upped my game. I'm now doing a lot more power yoga. I'm calling it the yang yin yoga. So I do at first something vinyasa or hatha, and I have never recommended, these styles of yoga to anybody who is overweight and in poor health. Do yin until you have mastered yin. Once you have mastered yin, then you can move on to more complicated yogas. This is my opinion. Otherwise, you risk injuring yourself, right? You need to lose the weight before you put on the strength. You really do. You need to lose the weight before you have and gain some flexibility before you can do strength building. So I have lost the weight. I have obtained a certain degree of flexibility. Am I the most flexible person in the world? God, no. But I am doing half of my yoga practice to build power and strength, and the next half of my practice to get back into flexibility and stretch it on out. I kind of feel like I'm in the most luxurious prison cell ever. And I am using Nelson Mandela to be my inspiration at the moment. When he was in isolation for as long as he was, I'm sure he found ways to exercise. And so in my little bubble, because I can't even go out, it's been minus 35 degrees here. It's insane, the weather. So I'm right, now it's time to build muscle. Now it's time to gain flexibility. Now it's time to get into my body. Otherwise, the fears of being so far outside of my comfort zone and so far into the land of the unknown, the abyss of I'm not who I was and I'm not who I'm going to be. I'm somewhere in the between. And so on these fields, all I can do is focus here and now. What are the foods I'm giving myself for my body's health? What am I, body? Is my body safe? Yes, this is my new favorite thing. And this is Craig who taught me this. Look around, look around, look around. Do you feel safe? And I'm like, and I'm practicing looking around. I am safe here in the present moment. And the final theme that I wanted to talk about in the current energies is surrendering to the process. Surrender to the process. The process is uncomfortable. Surrender to that. The process is wet. Surrender to that. The process is emotional. Surrender to the rat. It is an emotional ascension. That's how you ascend. You ascend through the emotions. That's where I started from, through the emotions. If you don't let yourself experience all the icky emotions, you're not actually getting rid of them. You're delaying your ascension. Sorry, but you are. You have to experience the grief. You have to experience the anger. You have to go through the hatred, the rage, the irritation, the aggravation. You have to experience all the little flavors, every single flavor, as you climb up out of the pits of doom and gloom, so that we become more and more empowered and empty ourselves out of all of these energies. It's the great emptying. This purification process, which is what we're going to trust, is I'm going to trust that if I sit down today and I'm going to let myself feel tired and feel exhaustion and feel whatever I need to feel, that it will pass. Will pass, and then I'll be on to the next uncomfortable lesson. And then I'll be on to the next uncomfortable lesson. And then I'll be on to the next, oh, this one's not so bad. This one tastes like chocolate. Yay. Oh, now I'm back into the next uncomfortable lesson. And now I'm on to the next uncomfortable lesson. And you're going to keep learning uncomfortable lessons until there's no more uncomfortable lessons to learn and there's only neutral lessons. And then you're going to be like, wah, wah. Well, this is kind of numb and boring and nothing's happening, but it's okay. There's no crises, there's no stress, and then you'll be like in the doldrums for a period of time, and then you're going to start to experience some nice lessons, like somebody coming and saving you out of a ditch, or somebody coming and fixing your plumbing. Those felt great to me. Felt great. Felt absolutely great. No manipulation, no gaslighting, no bullshit, no lies, no love bombing, no nonsense. Just nice human beings doing nice things with no agenda. I like the process. Okay. Is the process going to go as fast as I want it to? Nope. It's going to go slower than slow. Okay. Divine time is slower than island time. Okay. They always say, like, time slows down in the islands, Mom. Yeah, well, time slows even further down in the divine, in the cosmos. There is a lot happening to line everything up for us. And so we need to trust that when I get to where I'm going to get, I'm going to have the resources that I need. When it gets to the point where I'm going to build some of these things that I've been shown, I am going to be making a living wage. That'd be nice. I am going to have divine masculine come in different ways and show up in different partnerships and, co-collaborate and this, that, and the other. I'm going to have who I need when I need them. I'm going to have what I need when I need it. It's going to manifest as God sees fit, not as I see fit. I'm not going to micromanage. I'm not going to control. I'm going to breathe through my anxiety and I don't know what's happening. And we are going to be forced to sit in it. Sit in it. Day after day until what we're sitting in is bliss. right? Sitting in more blissful energies. And it takes a lot: love, compassion, forgiveness. There's still so many lessons in the higher realm that we still need to go through. But having some neutral and having some pleasant and interwoven, it's like, it reminds me of a a Gaelic kilt, that they've woven in some yellow into the blue fabric. And so now it's coming together in a way that's like altogether new. Tartan, which is better than the monotone that was like grief for forever. But my tartan is built with some lines of grief and remembrance of that, and remembrance of the fear, and remembrance of all the other emotions that I've already transmuted through and been through. And I'm like, oh, okay. All of that is making me into who I am. Shadow and light, feminine and masculine, valuing of self with boundaries, no longer interfering. No, learn that lesson. Opening to new energies to come in and experience bliss, not holding hostility and going like, I hate all men. I don't. I hate the behavior of a large majority of men. Absolutely. I 100% do. And I think all men are accountable for how the collective behaves, but I don't hate them. I hate the behaviors that I have observed and experienced, and I'm still observing, and is coming to light. And we as a collective have to work together to solve that problem. Men alone can't solve the problem of men, but men listening to women sure can. Women alone can't solve the problem of men either, but women working with men can. So when we start working together, start listening, start this listening process, I do have faith. I do have faith and trust the process that there is a collective that is being risen up out of the false matrix and the programming and the conditioning that has held us ensnared. But it requires opening our minds and not freaking the fuck out. Yesterday or the other day, I did a post about shaving, and oh my God, like so many people got their knickers in a twist. Because I pointed a light and shone a light on something that people didn't want to see, which was conditioning, right? I didn't even mention which body part, but everybody got their knickers in a twist. And thought and got really upset about it. I was getting a lot of angry face emojis, and I'm like, over body hair? That's what you're freaking out over? Because I'm threatening the concept and the idea that this is and calling into question that this is a belief that has been conditioned into us? Can we not think about things and be inquisitive without freaking out? If we can't even talk about body hair, how are we supposed to talk about like the big issues that are coming up? Right? We need to be able to address things for what they are and use language as language is meant to be used. Stop softening it, stop watering it down. Surrender to the ungendering process is part of this as well, which is, I guess, a bonus that I'm adding to this, because part of what I have been experiencing through my awakening is ripping off all the conditioning of what it is to be a woman in this world. And shaving was a part of that. All these things that I was told and taught I had to do to be attractive. I don't have to do any of those things. If people are only attracted to my physical form and what I do with my physical form, whether it be shaving or makeup or hair dye, then their focus is on the wrong thing anyways. I am a soul, and I am going to attract people that are interested in my soul self. My soul self is intelligent, has a wicked sense of humor, and is blunt and to the point. My soul self calls it as it is. Do any of those things reside within the gender role that has been assigned to me as a woman? No. So I'm pulling myself out of this box and allowing myself to be ungendered is another thing that I'm stepping into. Has that come with fear? Yep. Yep. I went shopping the other day because I needed to buy snow pants, and I wanted to buy a pair of track pants as well because I needed a new pair. And I first went into the women's section, and I found a pair of snow pants that were on sale because it's the end of season. Woot woot. My favorite is when things are on sale. And then she was like, here's a pair of track pants. And I felt the fabric, and I was like, kind of thin and flimsy. I'd like something thicker. So I traipsed myself down to the men's section, and I felt the track pants there, and they were thicker and denser. And I'm like, why do men get warmer sweatpants than I get? And the ones I found in the men's section were 60% off. So I'm like, doink, they're sweatpants, but I am gendered to believe I need a pink razor, which costs more than the blue razor. I'm engendered to believe I need a razor at all. I'm engendered to believe I need to shop on that side of the store instead of that side of the store. I'm engendered to believe that I need to wear makeup on my face to be appealing or sexually desirable. Fuck that. If all somebody is after is sexual energy without meeting me at a soul level, at my mind's capacity, I'm not interested. I got zero interest in that. That's not what motivates me anymore. So the ungendering is pulling us out of indoctrination. It's pulling ourselves out of conditioning that we start from the time that we're born. Like little girls get put in pink and boys get put in blue. By the way, the track pants were purple, which I think is a great ungendered color. And we're told that girls can play with dolls, boys can play with machinery, and girls should emote and boys shouldn't. And girls should be quiet and good little girls. And they're just being boys. Boys are rough and tumble. They're just being boys, and let them away with their behavior, no consequences. So they never learned any consequences for their actions, where the girls learned all the consequences for their action. Like if they stepped out of line at all, there was very rigid box that we needed to go into. Girls learned at a young age that they needed to be sensual and sexual. We put the word juicy on their butt. We put them at young ages in beauty pageants. You know, so there is a gendering process that has held us in this matrix system. And me trusting the process is learning that it's okay to be neutral, like gender neutral. You know, I got in touch with one of my inner child during a meditation this week, and it was one of my favorite memories was being in Northern Ontario and just when I was younger and just catching frogs and looking for garter snakes and going into mud puddles and looking for tadpoles and just being in nature. It wasn't about being a girl or being a boy. It was just playing. And that inner child wants to come out and just play again without the constructs of I need to look a certain way and talk a certain way and behave a certain way for me to be considered acceptable, desirable. Oh, no. I don't fit within the box. Okay? I'm not going to try to fit within any more boxes. This is the collapsing of the old systems. And I love to see things like gender neutral sections in shopping places now. That's fabulous. Yay! Be non-binary. Yay! If you still identify very strongly with feminine or masculine gender roles, which is different than energy, okay, do your own thing. I don't care. I don't care if you want to wear high heels and a bra, which I call a harness. I don't wear those things no more. I don't care what other people want to do, but for me, please don't put me in that box. Please don't try to drag me back in the box of having to wear makeup or having to dye my hair or, having to spend $500 on anti-wrinkle cream. No, I'm a human. Trusting the process for me also means allowing ourselves to be human again. That is the process. It is the deprogramming and the rehumanizing of humanity according to nature's energetic truths. That's big. That's really big. So the more we stand in our own soul's essence and are true to ourselves in whatever way that shows up for you, be a freak, be a weirdo, dye your hair, don't dye your hair, get a tattoo, don't get a tattoo. I don't care. I don't care. I just want you to be happy and healthy. So whatever's going to make you the happiest and the healthiest is what I'm going to support. It's what I'll applaud you on the way, and I'm going to trust the process that we're all ascending into our humanness. Ultimately, at the end of the day. And then one day, I'm just going to levitate myself right on off. Adios, amigos. Sayonara. So that is my video today. It went up and down and all around with these themes. I am curious if they resonate with you guys out there. Do let me know. And I am sending everybody lots of love to everybody who's going through all the shifts and changes that are happening on this process. If you want to book a one-on-one with me, please reach out and send me off an email to justbebeing@gmail.com. The link for that is in the description below. If you would like to join the Spiritual Warrior Support Group Zoom meetings on Fridays or Wednesdays, get in touch with me and I'll give you the Zoom link. It's reoccurring, so it's the same link every week. You can join back in once you have it. And it is free or by donation. Thank you for all the donations that support me on my journey. I have greatly appreciated it. There's a couple of you out there that have been exceedingly generous, and I feel so supported to have continued my mission. The comments is another way to support me. Even, watching the ads at the end of my shows, because I don't put mid-reel ads on, but if you watch the ads at the end of an episode or just let it run as you go and do a cup of coffee, that's a couple pennies that come my way too, right? So just let the reels run. And with that all said, peace in.